Hello, friends and enemies, and welcome back to the channel. I am your super fluffy host, and today I will finally be telling you about the second group I was in after the group with Fox and the like, and those people. It happened a few years afterwards, 2010, 11, something like that. It was late 2000s, early 2010s, whatever. But anyway, so this was not the standard D&D, etc. place. Like, it wasn't real life. It wasn't some sort of dedicated forums or whatever like previously I'd been on. It was a little bit more like, I think, IRC chat. I'm not really sure. Basically, there were a whole bunch of chat rooms on the website. You could join them, set up a profile, etc. And of course, on the profile, you had all the information for your characters, that sort of thing. Which everybody had a good few characters that I saw, which I was told that there was over 100 unique people subscribe to subscribe whatever to this chat room, though I never really saw more than, like, at the most was 50. I don't know if it couldn't handle more than 50, if there's just never more than 50 on, but still, I think that's a pretty good size for a group. Of which, this wasn't just D&D. There was all sorts of, pretty much every type of RPG going on there. Tabletop, non-tabletop, just straight people RPing together, that sort of thing. And it had a sort of drop-in, drop-out sort of system. Now, if you saw a group going on or something getting together, you could just join and off you go. If stuff came up, then, no problem, you can pop out. Granted, these were all mostly just short, quick one-stops. There was the occasional game that went on longer, but usually those would end up going to Skype and being a bit more in-depth. I never really got into any of those. At the time that I joined this group, I had a part-time job. A generic minimum wage part-time job. And I'm pretty sure any of you that have had that know how bad that can be. Being scheduled random hours, random days of the week. Usually the schedule wouldn't get posted up until like the day before the week started. So multiple times I'd have to call or go in and find out, when am I going to work this week? And of course, some weeks I'd only be scheduled 1 or 2 days, and surprisingly not conducive to being able to really join dedicated gaming groups. I made do with what I could, of course, but still. Despite everything, I only remember basic details for stuff. Like, I don't remember any of the in-depth, like, what happened. For some reason, all these different games I was in, and I was in a bunch. I was in there for well over a month, highly active for over a month, in dozens of games. But I only remember a few basic details, like this was the general what was going to happen, or the story, or a character I was thinking of using. And yeah, the only one I really remember any extra details of was one that was just completely randomness. There's like a labyrinth channel. You could pop into it and talk with people there. And the guy running it was basically had a minotaur, and you had to escape from the minotaur. But instead of it being something like, oh, if you get caught, your character gets killed or whatever. No. If you get caught, it was wacky hijinks. Like, the minotaur would find you, and he'd run up, pass a football to you, and run off. And then suddenly here comes a whole bunch of linebackers to take you down, and you gotta escape from them now. Or, the minotaur finds you, and he goes full salesman trying to sell you the labyrinth. It was fun, random, just, wacky hijinks. which unfortunately got incredibly popular. And as it got popular, sort of ended up with a, if you wanted to do anything there, you'd basically pop into the channel and hope there weren't many people there, because if there were, you might not get to do anything. And the guy who was running it, which I'm pretty sure was a mod, real life ended up sort of kicking him a bit, and that channel ended up eventually completely dying, which is kind of sad because, like I said, that was really fun. I think one of my characters that I took through it got caught by the Minotaur, who had lost his glasses and thought my small character that I was running in it was clearly a baby Minotaur, and so decided to adopt him, take him home, and then put him in a crib. It was it was just absurdity. But a few of the other games I remember, like somebody wanted to do a Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin and Hobbes? I don't know how to say it. But anyway, I'm sure you all know. And so me and a few other people joined, expecting, imaginary shenanigans, because we were all going to have this like stuffed animal companion or familiar or whatever, and going to be going on adventures with them. So we all expected stuff from like the comics, random sort of imaginary adventures. No, that's not what the GM had in mind. Instead, he hit us with like this ultra dark and gritty adult version of Calvin and Hobbes with all sorts of things going on. Like I said, ultra dark gritty remake, imagine that. Yet, needless to say, people did not like that. And the whole thing pretty much ended up dying, basically, with the person running it getting very upset at us for ruining his game and for, being babies, for not wanting to do his ultra dark and gritty version of Calvin and Hobbes. This happened, something similar with this would happen a number of times. Like, for instance, somebody wanted to get a game together, and we all started out in a slave trading outpost. We weren't like slaves or anything. No, we were there adventurers of our own free will. And so we all decided that we're going to take all these people out. Now, are there any guards? Oh, there isn't. Well, then. And so we decided we were going to kill all the slavers. No. The GM got extremely upset at us and started yelling at us, basically, that we were screwing up his game. Because as it turns out, what we were supposed to do was go in and buy a bunch of slaves to create like an anime waifu harem sort of thing. And yeah, he was wanting to do some sort of adult fantasy harem game, basically. Yeah, needless to say, nobody liked that idea. Not the least of which because it wasn't advertised as being like this adult game he was wanting to get together. So yeah, he got upset and ended up nuking the game, basically. Stuff like this happened. I mean, it was rare. I'm pretty sure those were like the only two. Well, no, there's definitely a few more that I don't remember the details of that I was in, that something similar happened. But there's a lot of people who basically they wanted to tell a story, and we were effectively going to be along for the ride. And once we got off the track, so to say, they broke down. This place also had a problem which pretty similar to a bunch of other places I had been to before, of, having a whole bunch of players, but barely any GMs. Like, I said like this, 50 people there, there'd be like 5 people who would be willing to GM, and everyone else, the other 45, were preferring to play. So, yeah, it could get a bit... There were days where I would pop in, and there'd be a whole bunch of people there, 20, 30 people, not a single game going, because nobody wanted to run anything. Somebody might pop up and say, hey, I've got this really good idea for a game. And like, describe some really interesting game or concept or story, and then they would say, okay, who wants to run it for me? Which, yeah, that didn't really work. But yeah, I spent most of my time in the general discussion area, just talking with people, making friends. I made a bunch of friends and discussing builds. One of the things I absolutely love doing, and besides a few people who would get sort of snooty that, oh, you're not supposed, this is like role playing, you're not supposed to make a build, you're supposed to let it come naturally. In general, it's pretty fun. Lots of people, discussing, well, if you do this combination, you can do this, or, here's a fun thing I did once, and etc., etc. And yeah, it was all good fun. And like I said, I was there for over a month. Though it was after the first month when the problem person would pop up. I will call him D because he had like a dozen characters, and most of them had a name starting with D. But he had some, he caused problems. He was only there for a few weeks, but the population of the server dropped dramatically after he joined. But that will all be next week when I discuss some of his shenanigans, or problems, I guess I should probably say, and the really, really bad way I handled pretty much everything, and a colossal sized jerk that I was to him, and probably one or two other people maybe. Yeah, not my best moment, but I was younger and getting kind of upset for seeing this place that I had enjoyed so much dying. I mean, for all I know, its collapse wasn't involved, didn't have anything to do with him, but he was a new-ish guy, and was causing a lot of problems, so that's where my head went. But yeah, that will be next week. Sorry that's taken me so long to get this out. Again, no internet, and trying to get caught up and all my thoughts together on this whole thing. I mean, it's caused me to remember a few extra things, so I guess I've got that going for me. But other than that, if you liked this whole video and my channel and everything I'm doing, then be sure to like the video, comment on the video, and subscribe to the channel. And with that, thanks for watching. And actually, a small little bonus thing here, since hopefully everybody sort of clicked away already by now. A friend asked me to uwooify my intro, which, while the idea amuses me, is not something I will do. Ever. Unless for some reason a ton of people wanted me to do that. But still, not going to do that. But I figure I can give the thoughts or ideas I had to do an uwooified intro here, after the end. So without further ado, uwoo, welcome to the channel. I'm your fluffiest of hosts, and today, oh whoa, this is awful. Stop it. I kind of feel dirty just doing that. But anyway, with that thing that hopefully very few people saw out of the way, now the whole thing comes to an end finally. See ya.